Alright guys, you need a big pot. Big W has good ones. A bucket with holes in it and a grain bag. Bring your water up to temperature. Put it all together. Make sure your water is the correct temperature. Add it in. Add your grain in. Oh yes. Alright, give it a good stir. Add some more grain in. Give it another good stir. Get it all nicely combined, quick as possible. We want to keep it as warm as possible, so you just go for it. Alright, and then we want to wrap it up nice and warm to keep the heat in. Ha! Alright, and we'll wait an hour. Boom. Alright, now just check the temp. It's nice to see how much the temperature actually drops, generally about 3 to 5 degrees, depending on how well you insulate it. Lift it up, and you can now rinse it with some more water. I believe they call it sparging. Anyway, I take it inside and stick it on the element to speed the process up, and then start putting the already soaked liquid through. This helps also filter out the smaller particles, giving you a nicer end product. Cool. Here I've got 2 pots. One is my main pot for boiling, which I will be bittering in, and the other one is just the extra liquid. Got Sabro, 100 grams, Simcoe, 100 grams, Mosaic, 100 grams. So we'll measure out 4 grams of each, and that's going to be going in after we've boiled for a while. So, something to do while we're waiting. Yeah, cool. So there's no bittering hops in this. There's just hop additions at flame out, and then at the Whirlpool stage once the work gets down. I'm just going to chuck it in now, boiling to sterilise it. Some yeast nutrients, which is basically just yeast and a few other things I believe, but if you don't have any of this, what you can do is like packet yeast or even baker's yeast. I think people said Marmite, anything with yeast basically. Chuck it in and boil it. Give it 10 to 15 minutes to make sure you kill it, so you don't get any wild yeast in your fermenter. Just give something for your good yeast to eat. About a teaspoon. Chuck it in there. Alright, so we're all done. Lid on that to help speed up the process. Rinse out our cube, and it is time for flame out. Add in 4 grams of Sabro, Mosaic and Simcoe, and start to cool that down to 80 degrees. Sanitize everything from now on. Once that reaches 80 degrees, we'll take that away from the cold water and add in 7 grams of Sabro, Mosaic and Simcoe. We'll chuck it back on the stove. 80 degrees. And we shall start a 40-minute timer. 40-minute timer. And in 10 minutes time, we will add 15 grams of Sabro, Mosaic and Simcoe. That is at 30 minutes. And at 20 minutes to go, in another 10 minutes time, we'll be adding in 20 grams of Sabro, Mosaic and Simcoe. And we shall leave that for another 20 minutes and then transfer that to the cube. Right, we'll leave that for 20 minutes and we are good to go. Alright, so just sanitize everything. I like to use a kitchen sieve. My actual funnel came with the proper sieve, but it tends to block up too much, it's too fine. I use a jug just to get things started because it's so hot, still at around 80 degrees. Then once it's, yeah, you can see, tip it in, the righty-rah. If you lift the cube up as you fill it, you can fit a little bit more in and try and help get as much of the air out as possible that way. So give it a good squeeze and get out as much air as possible. perfect. And then you want to tip it upside down. So this is still pretty hot, it's like 80 degrees. We could have been touch it, so that's all getting sanitized again from the hot liquid. And then yeah, we'll cool it down. Normally chuck it in the bath also works too. That was the brew day. It's time for a nice drink. Oh, have a cider. We're going to cook some meat on the barbie. Had some mates come over, so got a bit distracted halfway through that, but we're into it. We still got there in the end. Let's go. Good tip for these is to use them inside out, so that the grain is easier to wash off. Check out my other video on how to make a yeast starter. I did it for this brew day. Just chuck it down. Our thermal well here. A heat belt. Alright, back with the connect on the spinning valves. I'm actually going to be running this fully open. I want this to basically be on zero, like just having an airlock. So basically fully open. I don't tend to add any pressure until after the second dry hop, which would be about day 7 or 8. So day 2 or 3, as soon as we start to get a good krausen, we're going to add in our first dry hop. 4 days after that, we're going to add in our second dry hop. Leave that for 4 more days, and then cold crash for about 3 days. I find it's good for an NEIPA. Alright, our gas is red. On we go. That's basically just like an airlock. This shouldn't be doing anything. It's basically all the way out. There'll still be a little bit of resistance, so nothing can get in. But yeah, just do it till it touches. And this will just be to help us monitor to see anything happening. So we got a 22 litre batch at about 1.052. Should be a nice brew. Alright, we'll check in our dry hops. Yep. Oh, wait a minute. Pitching temp was 22.8. It's about 23 degrees. Roughly 21 grams of each going in. If you'd like to see a more in-depth video on how to double dry hop using a Fermzilla, check out my other video. Try and tie this as big and loose as possible. After doing my second dry hop, I went back 4 days later to take a sample and my dip tube fell off. Check out my video on how I recovered that. It was pretty messy. Take our bag of hops. Careful not to get our dip tube to drop. And we'll just plop that in there. Splash it around a bit. That's all good. Don't forget to put your probe back, because otherwise the fridge will freeze your beer. Alright, she's been about 1 hour. Just give it a bit of a burp. Try and just let that oxygen. Here goes the oxygen. Oh yeah. Out you go. And we are back again. just come back, maybe one more time, make sure we get that oxygen out. Now let the pressure out. You can do this quite slowly, that might fizz up a fair bit. Probably not, it wasn't very high PSI rating, but oh, that smells good. There's a bit more pressure building back up in there, which is good. Helps remove the lid, so that should make sure it's not too much pressure. She's coming. Alright, so let's go in with the sanitizer again. We've got some pure alcohol spray. Get another hoon. Hands again. And just lift this up. And we're looking for that big knot. Hopefully. Very tiny. Boom. There she is. Pull that up. And our second dry hop, I just go free ball, tip those in, so stick that lid back on, happy days, double dry hops. Cheers guys, here's my New England IPA. After all of the rigmarole we went through, this has turned out really well. It's been about 10 days in the keg. Carbonation's come up just right. Tastes, the hop burn's just starting to drop back, all balancing out the flavours now. Getting a nice fruity, sort of like a tropical fruit salad, sort of tropical fruit salad smell. You smell a bowl of fruit salad. So pretty happy with it. Still a little bit tart and bitter in the back of the throat. Wondering if that's because of the no chill method. But yeah, we'll give it a go one day again with another cooling system perhaps. See if it's a little less. But anyway, yeah, it's turned out well. The head hangs around for ages. Pretty happy with that. Anyway, still a New England IPA, super hazy. This is London Fog Yeast, 50-50 with the New England IPA. Is it West Coast or East Coast? Anyway, yeah, be in the recipe in the description. It's pretty good. Super hazy, you can't see through it at all. And yeah, this has been in the kit. This is cold crashed for 6 days. I think 4 days, 5 days, and then been in the keg for at least 10, and it's holding its haze. So I recommend, if you're having trouble getting hazy beers, recommend the London Fog. Coming up next, we're going to have this brew day. I'm also going to be doing a cider. Super easy recipe. Basically just use supermarket apple juice. Super easy recipe. 10 2-litre bottles and some yeast, and you've got delicious cider. You could add a bit of dextrose if you want higher ABV, but my last one, I bought the most cheapest apple juice. It actually has less sugar, so make sure you buy the slightly more expensive one. It's got more apple sugars in it, as opposed to having to add dextrose. But dextrose is probably cheaper if you want to go the cheaper apple juice. giving this a go this time to see if it has a bit more body. I may even reduce some apple juice down to like 1 litre to thicken up a little bit. We'll simmer it down. But yeah, we'll see how that turns out. Check out the other videos whenever they get uploaded. Cheers, this video is over.